Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Closeted Conversations. I'm Xander, and if this is your first video, please don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, and share. So, also feel free to hit the notifications button so you always know when a new video is up. So, today we have a guest speaker. We'll be talking about coming out, and has it gone easier? So, why don't you go ahead and say your name, tell a little bit who you are.
Of course, yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Alex Aldana. I'm a little hoe. I don't
A little?
a little, just a little bit. I guess part of my upbringings in social justice work, specifically with trans and queer people of color and youth, goes back to where we met probably like 11, 12 years ago at our local nonprofit.
Local
And
nonprofit.
then as years went by, like we have grown and we have experienced just a lot of blessings, a lot of opportunities getting to know our own community. And I think part of the discussion that we're having today is just reflect on that, right? Like as we're growing up, what does it mean to actually come out, and has it gotten easier, and how we are moving forward with that conversation, right?
Yeah. Let's start with the basics. What is coming out?
I think to me, coming out, as Sir Lord Harvey Milk would say, it's a way of sharing your truth to the world in a very unjust system where we're treated otherwise for just being who we are. In this case,
Wait, say that again so they can
I
make sure they know that.
I forgot the words exactly, but if folks don't know, Harvey Milk, he was a pioneer prior to other people that were around the area, like Aubrey Lore and other revolutionaries, talking about coming out to the injustice system. And probably 20, 30, 40 years ago was a whole different story. So coming out became a weapon of political awareness, but also of existence and truth. So people were getting killed. People are still getting killed today for just being who they are, whether you're queer, trans,
Right.
bi, whatever gender on the spectrum you identify. But back then it was a political act of resistance. Like, you're gonna share who you are because you're unafraid of people persecuting you.
Right.
Oftentimes it's not a reality based on your privilege. We're very privileged here in the States because there's some laws that protect us. So there's that level of comfort. But to me, in short, coming out is sharing that truth of who you are to the greatest level to society. I can come out in many ways. So I think when we talk about trans and queer people of color and the spectrum, LGBTQI, I forgot, goes on and on. It's just sharing that truth unapologetically, and also coming out in different levels, right? That is not just a closed case, that you're not just done. Sometimes people come out twice, even within our communities, right? First as gay or bi, and then they transition, or they continue to be in a political state of non-binary status, right?
Right.
So people,
How long ago have you come out? Or how does that look like for you? Or how long ago was that?
yeah, I think, well, with my personal story, it was interesting because I never really have a coming out story.
Mm-hmm.
I have different come out events in my life, and I still continue to come out. And part of the knowledge that I have experienced in my own personal life is just that to me, coming out, it hasn't been a one single event. And I don't think most of us in this society, in this country, in the world, will not experience a one single coming out event. Specifically LGBTQ folks, specifically people of color. I feel like there is more than one coming out story that we can all agree on, that we share. So going back to my personal story, I was forced to come out probably around when I was 7 or 8 years old. And it was because I was very femme. I was playing with my neighbor.
Where? Like past tense?
No. I was, because I went to my, again, coming out, like I went to my hyper masculinity, and then my femme, and then, anyways. So that was a specific, cause my mom remembers that I was very femme, and I would like to play with my neighbor, dolls, and dress up, and I would wear her, dresses and
The
outfits.
fashion.
She had, yeah, and then I would rock it, and my mom never made anything about it, but it was until my dad caught me that I remember seeing my dad, and he took everything out, and then he thought about it, and he's like, no, bitch, we're gonna dress you back up, and you're gonna walk. We live right across the street from a market in Mexico. So he humiliated me and made me walk on heels with a dress, back and forth, and then my grandma was walking down the street.
Wow.
So my grandma, and then at this point, because I was doing it, I was like, nothing's wrong with me. And then he started beating me up. So there was a level of humiliation and a level of punishment just for being who I was as a kid. So then, to me, that's the earliest that I could remember. How did I come out to my family? Either when I didn't even know what being gay or being queer was, it was that moment. So then that was my own journey, which was difficult because having those traumatic experiences, like with your parents, and also like meeting other guys at such an early age, I had this idea of exploring my body, but I was so afraid that if I were to be caught, my parents would do the same. Yeah. I think that reflecting on what I said about other people and our struggle in the past, they did it without being guaranteed their levels of safety and rights and protections as other people that are doing it today. So then I'm thinking about how you say, is it easier to come out? And I think in some truth it is, because we have grown as society in the world, but then our system has been broken to being just to most of us, especially people that are the global south, of people of color, black folks, Latin American folks. After colonization, we continue to see that there's always going to be a system at place that impacts all of us, and us sharing that truth continues to cost lives. People continue to be killed and whatever. So I reflect on that, and I think that the political identities of coming out should definitely be encouraged. Thinking again about Harvey Milk, how he was saying that it was a very act of resistance. The fact that we encourage people to come out of whatever identity brought a sense of intersectionality, which is a term I just learned probably like a decade ago, right? Yeah. Like, what does it mean to be intersectional in our own community, right? Like, we are people that continue to be displaced, and our stories are very protagonized and mainstream nowadays. That when you tell the larger gay white community, right, what it's like to be pos, and like, I'm HIV positive and I'm also undocumented, so those are identities that impact my life, that a lot of people experience, but not a lot of people share because they're really afraid. Like, if people know where we are in the States right now, like, people are being persecuted just for being immigrants. Yeah. Let alone being undocumented, let alone being, so the layer of oppression goes on and on and on. Right. So it becomes harder for people to share their truth, which is a very horrible place to be, right?
Yeah,
because then you're
not being yourself.
Yeah, like, look at me, I'm cute, so it's like, it doesn't define who I am,
right?
And it shouldn't destroy the joy that I have for being who I am. I always bring it up to the light in a very like whatever type of way, because I want to normalize that conversation, right? That no matter who you are, you should be encouraged to, but we should also respect where people are in that level, right? Because it's definitely not easier. Like, not everyone's Alex, not everyone's XANDER, right? So other people really live in that fear, and the fact that we may have a toxic way of, I guess, pressuring people to like come out. It's not right. Season.
Coming out is a very personal, internal. I don't know if struggle is the right word, but it's kind of journey kind of thing,
Right.
That I don't know if I can ever say, oh, coming out's easier, because I don't know what journey the person is going through. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and I think that the other conversation that I like to normalize is that where we are in the world, we always talk about as our communities in a very minimalistic way, because that's how society makes us think, right? Like, we're worth a penny, we're worth money, our stories are worth money, we have to share it with the gay community, in West Hollywood, live happy lives, but, it's not the reality. People continue to get murdered here in LA, for just being trans, being queer, being black, being brown.
Right.
So denormalizing that conversation into, actually, all of us are going to experience hardship because of the government, because of our country, because of society, white supremacy, and the systems that play a beat. So that's what I like to encourage. Like, it's not going to be easy, girl. It's going to be a struggle, because this is the system that we were given. It is what you do with that story. It is how you impact other people.
So I remember one time, I was in class from a sexuality class in college, and we were watching the video. It was actually it was presentations. I don't know if it was for midterms, but a team did a presentation on coming out, and they had a video in it where it showed, I think it was mostly white gay boys, I would say, boys or men, who were coming out, and for the most part, the stories were, ended in a positive note. The parents accepted them, or they said, "Oh, I knew," or even at one point, like there was some comedy relief. And so at one point, I think the class was like laughing about a video or part of the video that I had to kind of like stand up and say, you know what? I'm happy for these people that came out and the parents are being accepting of him. However, that's not my reality. That's not what happened to me, and that's actually not what happened to a lot of people like me or people of color. And it was so crazy to me because a lot of people are not aware of these realities.
And that in itself is a coming out story of realization, right? So you realize that people have a perception of you, and in our communities there is a lot of sugarcoating or pinkwashing, even within our movements. Pinkwashing in the sense that we tell the happy ending story, like what, as selfish as we are here in America, that we want the world to believe that this is what LGBTQI people experience, but then white privilege is at place, so we're telling a story in their nature, in their perspective, but it doesn't reflect who we are.
Coming out, it may be easier, but like maybe here in LA it's easier, which is such a blue state,
right?
But it's definitely not easier compared to
other places,
yeah.
Right? And I think my duality, not only navigating my gender identity, but also my immigration status, is that I feel like I almost lived two lives. One life where it was, I was born and raised in Mexico, and me having that unique experience. A lot of immigrant youth that I met here in LA don't have that. They have that misconnection where they're like, I was raised here, I'm an American, or, I don't know my home country, which is legit. It's an experience, but that their experience in college or even in social justice spaces that I face is not reflective of my experience. And let me put it this way: we think about like the immigrant youth that are being detained right now, like the unaccompanied minors or the refugees that are coming in to the States. They don't have the same experiences that us, the last generation of immigrants that came in, have, right? So you think of that, you reflect on how even our own communities, even older gays, don't have that experience, but they went through some pain, right? There's this echo. Our generations are growing wiser. There's this echo of pain that we're carrying, right? Like, we're not the same. You don't represent me. I had it worse, right? So to me, it's like I have it fucking bad right now, and other people will have it worse. So it is my job to share that truth. That uniqueness in our story is that it's okay. It's okay to be unique. It's okay to be diverse in our struggles, and we are also doing something to change that narrative.
Yeah, for me, I think now that we're having this conversation, I think part of the reason maybe why I don't want to say that coming out is getting easier, because I feel like saying coming out is getting easier, it kind of erases the fact that it's no longer a problem. When in reality it is still something difficult for some folks. Again, and I'm talking about whether it's gay or trans or limited or anything else, any other identity. So if coming out is not easier per se, what's making it hard to come out? And we already mentioned kind of, the system and having this perspective of, them coming from like a white person's perspective sometimes, if they're the ones who have the power and they're kind of like shaping how we want to view the world per se.
Right.
So we know that, well, some of us maybe. What other things do you think are making it harder for people to come out about their identities?
I think America's facing this reality. It's putting finally a face and a name to white supremacy, which is ultimately racism. Some racism that has been embedded in this country since the moment it was born, right? Like, we being a racist community, a racist country, a racist land, on stolen land, So the moment that we continue to have those conversations, it's separating the guilt and separating accountability from our own journey. As an elder told me once a long time ago, is that we have been exposed to intergenerational trauma for 7 generations. So whatever our ancestors and our great-grandparents and our grandparents and our fathers are going through, all that violence is reflecting on us, and we need to work on that internally, but the white community at large needs to work on that on their own. So when we have allies, defining allyship, a lot of older white men, people in power, unfortunately, you go to any nonprofit, you go to any national organization, and there's always a white man on the table, at the very top. So how do we, the moment that we start talking about how do we make it better, it's like, well, you need to step down. You need to give up power in order for us to like move forward. And I think going back to that conversation, right, of white America, is like we see people fearing just walking down the street, going to elementary school and middle school. I never experienced that in my life. I thought America was the safest place on earth. And now I'm fucking fearful. I've been attacked in West Hollywood, by other queer people, right? So I've been exposed to guns. I've been experienced, drills of like active shooters, and I think that's another conversation, right? With violence, like I can just imagine any fucking kid, not necessarily LGBTQ, but then you navigate growing up, right? So you are gonna be twice as afraid to go to school and to come out, because then people might take it the wrong way, right?
Yeah. So I mean, and also I think that there's also a lot of work that can also be done within our communities. Like for example, as Latinos, like what I think about is novelas, for example, or celebrities in general as well. Like I don't know that many celebrities that identify as Latino and queer at the same time. Like if you ask anybody right now, like think of a queer Latino person, probably everyone's gonna say only one name, and that's probably Ricky Martin. You know. And that's it. And so that not having those type of representation in media makes it difficult probably for somebody to.
I'm always gonna bring it back to the same thing. You think about where the media is being produced, right? So it's like Telemundo, Univision, very white-driven, Latinx, or even they use the word Hispanic. That's what
right.
The America gave us. Hispanic is the closest thing to whiteness. So it's that's the issue,
Right.
And I was thinking about when you were doing your videos, and even through the work that I've been doing, whenever I have a workshop, I'm blessed to have those connections now where I know people of color, artists, Black and brown people, Afro-Latinos, and the Latinx community that can share their own stories on videos. But it was difficult for me growing up finding videos of us telling our own narratives. It was always a tragic story, because we love tragic, or it was a happy ending story where some young Latin men found a white man and they married and then had a happy ending, right? So that's not the reality. That's a reality of many, right? So that's like, bitch, I never found my daddy, so what am I doing, I grew up of exploring the ugly of our communities and also enjoying that, right? Like you said, you had a bad experience, but that doesn't define you. Just had it bad, and defines you what you are and what you're doing against that.
So definitely, there's a lot of work to be done, in this country, in the world, even within our own communities and families. But I think most importantly, at the end of the day, coming out, because it is a very personal thing, that really that work has to start from that person, right?
Right.
So I guess at the end of the day, for me, when it comes to can I answer the question, is coming out easier? I know probably people are trying to say, well, is it or is it not? I don't think there's a simple yes or a simple no, but there is definitely a lot of work for people to be comfortable in this country.
And it's okay to be in the yes and the no. I think that coming out should be your own journey, and you shouldn't be policed to expect something out of it. Sometimes you'll have a good experience, sometimes you'll have a bad. We shouldn't stop at just coming out once. We shouldn't stop at just conforming to the norm, right? And I think that's one of our biggest problems, that we come out because we want to conform to where we are today, right? In a very patriarch society where we're normalizing heteronormativity, right? With gay marriage. I cannot tell you how many times I come out as a refugee from Mexico and people tell me but gay marriage is legal in Mexico City, and I was like, well, that's because one of the few people that are working against the Mexican government, is this doesn't feel safe. And as long as one person doesn't feel safe, you have the right to identify as who you are, right? So it doesn't make it safer for everybody, poor people of color, indigenous folks living in Mexico, right?
And now you mentioned marriage. It's funny because a lot of people thought that once gay marriage happened here in the United States, that was gonna help people come out or help people live this, when in reality I don't know if it got worse, but at least gays can now get divorced.
And I think that's one of the personal stories that I share, is that we have a perception of what happiness and align with marriage means, right? A lot of gay people fantasize I want to find my man, I want him to be the one, and that is in this context of monogamy, which was introduced to us by straight people, and the reality is that a lot of straight people are not monogamous. and that's a whole different conversation.
That is a whole conversation. Actually,
Yeah.
that is gonna be a future video. So they'll probably hear about that in the future.
And again, is the issue, right? That's what we come out to make sure that we don't stop at that. That marriage is not gonna define our safety. That marriage is not gonna provide equality. We are in a very unequal state and an unequal country right now, and we're seeing it every day. So we don't, it's not the end of the story, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
We're not trying to change people's minds, right, about coming out. Some people might agree, some people might disagree. The one thing that I do share is that no matter how many times you have to come out, you need to continue to come out, because it will change people's lives, it will change people's politics. If you think that your story doesn't matter, it does, and it helps other people to stand up and to change the world, right?
Yeah.
Some people in the 60s never believed that, sitting on a bus, or just respecting the injustice system would change anything. And it hasn't really. We're still, dealing with that trauma. With post-incarceration and criminalizations of our communities, but the moment that we stop and we normalize that we're okay, they're gonna get back to us, and they are. Look who's sitting in the presidency today.
Right. What I want to say, everybody, is that I would say we need to push for more representation of people like us out there.
And you are that person. You are the best person. We, as Grizzly Bucks once said, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. So don't expect your local leaders to step up. You are your own leader. You have your own story. And this video is like, this one that Sandra's doing matters a lot. So you do have a story. Yeah. And don't tell me you can't, girl, because if you have an iPhone, you're on Grindr, you can do it.
Well, thank you everyone for watching this video. And yeah, so go ahead and again, subscribe, like, follow, share the video. If you have opinions about, it's coming out easier, go ahead and put your comments below. And yeah, well,
please. Sorry.
Right. Well, thank you so much, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.